It's the Kyle Hyman Show on Redeemer Radio.
This is Kyle Hyman, and join us to talk about how to be a better parent and how to be a happier parent. I like the title of the book, Be a Happier Parent or Laugh Trying, is Betsy Kerekes. Thanks for being here, Betsy.
Thank you, Kyle.
So what is the funniest thing that has happened with your kids in the last week?
Boy, you really limit that and make me have to think.
Keep it recent.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is my daughter was trying to get her shoes on. It's not really that funny. It's more cute. But she was struggling and complaining because she couldn't get her heel, the heel around her back of her foot. So my toddler ran to this drawer where we keep shoes for when they grow out of their shoes and went and found shoes and brought them for her, which was more cute. But I was just impressed because he's not even 2.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, she needs shoes. Let me go find some more shoes for her. It was just really cute. It's one of those things that a parent can appreciate when their kids are trying to help each other out, even if they were mismatched shoes and way too small. But, I mean, the effort was there. So.
Yeah. Well, what do you think people misunderstand about parenting that makes them feel inadequate and like they're totally messing up their kids?
Easily thinking that they have to do a perfect job, and that's impossible. So a big part of the book is just reminding parents that it's okay if their kids don't have a perfectly balanced nutritional food pyramid meal, at every meal, and have the healthiest non-GMO, gluten-free, free-range sourced food, snacks for everything. And just knowing that we will mess up, like that's just a given. We will mess up, but it's not the end of the world. We can always do better. We can always apologize to our children if it's something that we've done, just to be honest like that, which is a good example to set for them. And to just relax and laugh because stuff happens like all the time. And we just have to expect it so that we can lighten up a little bit. You can't be happy if you're uptight and perfectionist and want your house to be spotlessly clean. I mean, that's just not humanly possible once you introduce children into the mix. So just relax, keep a sense of humor, laugh things off, share about the absurd things that happen on social media because then your other parent friends will laugh along with you and share their own stories.
Yeah.
Just comes with the territory. That's the biggest thing you got to learn.
Where do you think the pressure comes from in the first place? And I think some people would be scared to share some of their faults, thinking, oh, they're just going to judge me or they're going to think that I'm a horrible parent. So where does that pressure or this false sense of need for perfection come from?
Well, stay off the playground where the parents are judging each other. Well, if someone is afraid of sharing their mistakes with other people, then those people aren't very good friends. But people appreciate others who are human. It's not fun to hang out with the perfect person because you feel like you can't relate to that person, like you can't be friends with that person. That person also makes you feel inadequate. So if your friends are the type who are going to be like, oh, you're letting him eat a granola bar with chocolate chips in it or something like that, find new friends. Seriously, we get along better with people who are flawed because they make us feel comfortable. So it's totally cool to just be yourself. I mean, that's what we tell our kids when they're younger, right? And they're looking for friends. Just be yourself. Well, we need to be the same as parents and just go with it. I found that the nice thing about getting older is that you care less about what other people think of you. I mean, when you're a teenager, you think that all eyes are on you all the time and everyone is watching, and if you mess up, everyone is knowing and they're going to laugh at you. But as you get older, it doesn't matter. So much doesn't matter. And our kids are going to grow up and they're going to eventually crawl and potty train and all that stuff. And looking back on how stressed I was about my youngest not crawling at the appropriate age, now he's running and all that stuff is so far behind. I don't even think about it anymore. So just relax.
How much of this do you think is an expectation that our children be perfect and that when they're misbehaving or not the best at sports or whatever, struggling in school, we blame ourselves as parents?
again, that's probably from outward forces making you feel inadequate about how your children are supposed to be. And I would say move to the country. Stay away from, I'm joking, of course, but stay away from that sort of toxic environment. I mean, that's horrible pressure to put on our children, and that's not going to make them happy. It certainly isn't going to make us happy. And we know that God gives everyone different talents and different abilities. And recognizing what is your children's ability and fostering that and helping them to be great at arts by giving them art lessons or gymnastics or piano or whatever it is, and accepting that, okay, this child can't sing a note to save her life, so quit trying to force that on them. I mean, it's a lot of what our parents told us growing up, and we need to be telling ourselves it as we're raising our kids too.
Yeah. Well, why is it important that we also try to balance the educational and the discipline things with having fun with our kids?
Oh, that's the best. Yeah, something I have to tell my kids is that part of life is you get your work done first and then you have fun. And that's sort of allegory for not just the day-to-day, but our whole life is doing the work of being a good, holy person and avoiding sin. And then we get to have fun when we make it to heaven. And I love Sundays because we do the rule of no work on Sunday. So Sunday is just the free-for-all for sitting outside on a blanket, reading books, or going on a hike. Stuff like that, doing things with a family as a whole just helps unite and bond all of us together as this unit that will always help each other out, kind of like the show Blue Bloods. I don't know if you watch that, but okay, so the theme of family is very strong in that show, and they always have each other's backs. And when you have the fun and the spontaneity and doing stuff together as a family, then it helps keep the siblings close together. In fact, I was just reading an article of somebody interviewing like 80-year-olds and things that they regret. And oftentimes it was situations with their family. One woman was every day it bothers her that two of her children haven't spoken to each other for years. And that's like her biggest regret in life. So having fun with your family is crucial, and just being spontaneous and goofy, and occasionally just saying, you know what, let's just leave the dishes and let's go fishing or something. Just, out of the blue, the kids will be like, yay, best family ever, stuff like that. So it's finding the balance and just learning that life means getting the work done first, and then you get to play. That's your reward.
We're talking with Betsy Kerekes, author of Be a Happier Parent or Laugh Trying. And is this something that has come natural to you and you see that you're having more fun as a family and you're like, hey, other people should be doing this. Why aren't you happy as a family? Or is this something that you had to really work on and you're realizing that the more I kind of force myself to do these things, that the better things end up?
It's definitely something that I've learned over the years. Now my oldest is 14, and looking back when I have three close in age, and then there's a gap before my son. But looking back on how stressed out and frustrated I would get about having the clean house and dealing with ornery children, a lot of it has come with perspective. And I've picked some things up from other things that I've read here or there, or observed from others, or remember from my childhood, or even figured out on my own. Yeah, it's just there were a lot of things that I'm realizing I wish I knew when I was a younger parent, when my kids were younger. And I felt like, I can share this and save some people some trouble. In fact, one of my friends who read it said, gosh, if I had read this younger, my children would have turned out much better. And she was being partially facetious, I'm sure. But yeah, I just felt called to make it easier because it is the hardest job in the world. And we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves, like you were saying. And I just find that it's so much easier when we learn to accept our faults and accept that it's not going to be perfect, and do our very best and leave God the rest, and just help our children to just enjoy their childhood, because like every old lady at the grocery store points out, they grow up so fast. And it is true. And it's annoying at the time when they say that, like, I know, I was just told that by 5 other geriatric women. Like, I get it, I know. But
I want that on a poster, the quote, and then the author being old lady at the grocery store.
Yes. So we have to enjoy our children at every stage, at every age. There are pros and cons at every age. You know, they're hard when they're little, but they're also so cute and fun when they're little. And then when they get older, there's a sweet spot in the middle there where they're like 8 or 9, where they just, you know, they're old enough to know how to do things and they don't whine quite as much. And then as they get older, they can do more things. But then when they're teenagers, they're kind of a pain. You know, there's always some pros and cons, but you just have to embrace every stage and enjoy all the good points, because there are good points at every stage, and that's how you enjoy it. And thinking back to that article I mentioned with the old people, what's me with old people this morning? I don't know. But anyway, another thing that they often said in this interview of them was that their highlights of their years was when all their kids were young, and it was crazy and it was chaotic, but that was the most fun that they had, and they remember those years as the best years of their lives. So this is the best years of our lives. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's messy and smelly, and bodily fluids go where they're not supposed to go, and that's just, you know, it keeps things exciting, and, you know, you don't get bored when you have children. It's just not possible. So it keeps us young, too, and energetic and active, so we just got to embrace it for all the pros and the cons.
Well, I know you also have a lot of tips in the book, so what would be some of your highlights on tips for, say, a cranky child?
The cranky child. So my favorite way of dealing with a cranky child is actually quite simple. I'll scoop that kid up. I'll carry him to whatever room has the rocking chair or the glider. I'll grab his blankie or his bear, whatever his comfort item is, and I go in and I shut the door and I keep the light off, and I'll just sit with him and I'll hold him. And in worst case, he'll get kind of shifty and try to get away, and I'll hold him a little tighter and say, Mama just needs to hold you for a minute. And when I say it like that, it's like, you're doing this favor for me. It's not that I'm trying to help you out when you don't want it. You're helping me out because I just want to sit and hold you for a minute. And then they'll calm down, they'll relax. You can feel them kind of just, loosen up their muscles and calm down and just lay against you. And I will rock for a minute, and then I'll say, do you feel better now? And I'll get a yes, usually. If not, then I'll wait a little longer, and then I'll say, you want to go back out now? And I'll get a yes, and I'll say, okay, let's go. And we open the door, and we leave, and he runs back and plays. It has worked every time. I'm sure some parents are going to think that's not going to work for my kid, and maybe that's true, but it's definitely worth a try because it has never failed me. They just need a little quiet time away from everything, just calm, relax. I speak in a quiet, gentle voice. And, they just need to recharge for a minute. And somehow that's just magic. And holding that teddy bear or that blanket, they get comfort from that. Right. Even first grade and kindergarten teachers will keep stuffed animals in the back of the classroom for when one of the kids is acting up and just needs a little break. And they get so much comfort from holding something soft and cuddly. So always keep that handy.
So is this book mainly for parents with young kids?
It goes all the way through. It goes all the way through teenagers. And strangely enough, the teenager chapter ended up being the longest chapter by quite a few pages. Maybe not strangely enough. But, I don't really talk much about babies because there's so many baby books out there, and they all say the same thing. Sleep when the baby sleeps, fold laundry when the baby folds laundry, that sort of thing. So I deal a lot. I mean, the harder ages are the toddler and the young kids. So there's a lot more to say about that. And then up to teenagers. So everybody at all stages. And there's a chapter on keeping the faith, how to help instill the Catholic faith in your kids, because I'm sure so often when they go off to college and just out in the real world, quote unquote, they're exposed to so much. So we have to make sure that we keep them solidly grounded in the faith so that they can hang on to it. And then there's a chapter about how to take your kids to Mass and how to try to wrangle them. And so it really touches on everything.
Where can people get a copy of the book?
Our Sunday Visitor is the publisher, so you can find it at their website, which is OSV Books, and then just do a search for Be a Happier Parent or Laugh Trying. Well,
maybe the second edition could come with a poster that says, sleep when the baby sleeps, fold laundry when the baby folds laundry. All right. Thank you so much, Betsy. This is great. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it too.